Well, things that happen. I'm not mad, just disappointed. And mad, I lied. But well, it doesn't mean this time I won't literally make a meme right as I upload a video, I guess. So, 3 months after the release of the first. Wait, what? Yeah, 3 months. Alright, Scott Cawthon released FNAF 2, the sequel that absolutely comes after the first one. A new restaurant has been opened after the failure of the previous one, with very new animatronics. Once again, you will be taking the paper of a moron, an idiot, a very responsible person, to be the night guard of this location. A very straightforward sequel, or at least it seems like that at first. Welcome to my review of FNAF 2. Before I start, let me remind you that this review only takes into consideration FNAF 1 and 2, so pretend that stuff like Spring Bonnie or the Fun Times or the name William Afton doesn't exist. Also, obvious spoilers. With that out of the way, let's start with the review. This time I'll talk about the story first, because there's so much to talk about, and also, spoiler, it is my favorite part of this game. So, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has reopened with new animatronics. You also get paid less money this time. Remember this. Actually, the first thing that happens when you open the game is this. Once you start the night, you get a call from...
Hello, and welcome to your new summer job at the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Wait, what? Did the developer of this game seriously not hire anyone for another fungi? Whatever. He tells you that the company is committed to make this restaurant safer, and that the new animatronics have facial recognition for potential criminals. Makes sense knowing what happened last time. He also tells you something interesting.
Mission, advanced mobility, they even let them walk around during the day. Isn't that neat?
Remember this. Then he tells you something weird. He says that the previous night guard complained about the animatronics trying to go into his office, and Fongan says that should be impossible? This isn't just playing dumb, he even says that they have theories about it. It seems like the company doesn't really know that the animatronics attack at night. Then he tells you how to defend against them, and then hangs up the call. If you paid attention, you should have the bot full of questions. Why do the animatronics walk in the day now? Why doesn't the company know what these robots are capable of? And is this a new fungi, or is it the same as the dead one? In the call of the second night, unlike in the first game, the fungi keeps talking about the story instead of just throwing tips. He says that the original idea was to fix the original animatronics and update them, but they were so ugly and smelled so bad that they decided to make new ones. Remember this. Then he tells you that Foxy is actually a bit twitchy and his facial recognition doesn't work properly. This actually could explain why Foxy was out of order in the first place. Maybe he just didn't work properly. Lastly, he tells you to be careful with the puppet and the music box. That the puppet always seems to be thinking and the Freddy mask won't work on it. Yeah, I can smell this thing is possessed from a mile away. However, this time an interactive cutscene like the first one appears, but Bonnie and Chica are looking at you, and instead of error at the end it reads, "It's me." In the third night he just mentions curiosities about Foxy and Mangle, but then he tells you that there have been rumors and some tragedy, and that they aren't related to the restaurant. I don't know if this is referring to the last set of murders or a new one, but it doesn't matter. I'll talk about this later. Once again, the cutscene and... oh. Well, it seems like Golden Freddy was actually real. In Act 4, things start getting messy. There is an investigation going on, and that it is possible someone tampered with their facial recognition, and they have been aggressive towards the staff. At this point, if you are paying attention, you should be intrigued on what's going on. The same cutscene, but Puppet is here now. I'll talk about this later. In Night 5, he tells you that the building is on lockdown and that there's been a problem with a previous employee. Since he only ever talked about the previous security guard, we can assume it's him. Then he confirms it by saying that they will move you to the day shift because it became available. Hey, at least you will get out of this nightmare. But before you can process that, he drops a huge bomb.
Yeah, but we're working on it. We're gonna try to contact the original restaurant owner. I think the name of the place was Freddy's Family Diner or something like that. It was closed for years though. I doubt we'll be able to track anybody down.
So, the first restaurant was actually called Freddy's Family Diner. It doesn't even have Freddy Fazbear on the title, which means... Wait, could it be? Oh yeah, I forgot to mention there's a Golden Freddy drawing over there. Yeah. Finally, you receive the payment, and look at the date, 1987. Yeah, everyone in 2014 was epically trolled. This game, it's not a sequel, it's a prequel. This twist is genius, it's the best twist in this game and one of the best twists in the series. In fact, I go further and say that it's an exemplary example for a twist, not just in FNAF but in a story in general. All of the marketing for the game implied this was a sequel, but right as you begin they reveal your paycheck. In case you didn't know, the check in FNAF 1 was the minimum wage from 1992 to 1994, but because of inflation in 1987 it was smaller. So basically the game was showing it you in your face, but most people assumed you're just getting less money as a joke. Then there's the fact that the phone guy is alive. Because he is voiced by the creator and he seems much more happy than in the first game, many assumed he is just a new character with the same voice, like let's say the Crestfallen Warrior in Dark Souls. Don't judge me, this is just the first thing that came to mind. However, his cheerful personality is simply because he hasn't been traumatized by being a night guard at this place. Then there's the fact that the animatronics are allowed to move during the day.
They used to be allowed to walk around during the day too, but then there was the bite of 87. Yeah. It's amazing that the human body can live without the frontal lobe, you know? Facial recognition, advanced mobility, they even let them walk around during the day. Isn't that neat?
This means the bite of 87 didn't happen, and it also means it's about to happen because it's almost the end of the year. It also means this game gets to be a prequel without having to deal with the issues of prequels. Because you are not aware, you can't predict what's about to come. If you are new to the series, you may still have a couple questions, but wait a little more. FNAF 1's 6th Night didn't have anything in it, but this has changed as well. Phone guy calls you again, and by this point his cheerful persona has completely dissipated.
Hello? What on earth are you doing there? Didn't you get the memo? The place is closed down, at least for a while. Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right. Listen, just finish your shift. It's safer than trying to leave in the middle of the night. We have one more event scheduled for tomorrow, a birthday. You'll be on day shift. Wear your uniform. Stay close to the animatronics and make sure they don't hurt anyone, okay? For now, just make it through the night. When the place eventually opens again, I'll probably take a night shift myself. Okay, good night and good luck.
It seems like Jeremy is a clumsy guy. He came here for 6 nights, why I am not surprised. And he says that someone used a yellow suit and all of the animatronics are malfunctioning. He even says finishing the shift is safer than trying to get out now. That's kind of creepy. Then he says that they still have a birthday and you will be on the day shift, staying close to the robots so nothing bad happens. So, this confirms that the killer actually used an official yellow suit, likely Golden Freddy, to commit the murders. Once you complete the hell that is Night 6, instead of just your paycheck, you receive this. So, if you didn't understand why the animatronics are broken here but fine in one, here's your answer. So first I want to talk about the phone calls. Absolutely amazing job here. In the first title they only gave some good tips and a little bit of lore, along with the death in Night 4 and the call in Night 5. But here every single call gives you a lot of information about the restaurant and its history. And at the same time now there's an actual plot happening. Scott did an even better job at the voice acting. Phone Guy is very calm and cheerful at first, but as the night progresses, he gets more and more nervous. His nervousness in Night 6 is very well acted. There is one mistake though. In Night 1 he says summer job, but this game is not close to summer. A lot of people say that these messages are pre-recorded, but that is impossible. Not only does he specify in the first game that they are pre-recorded, and not here, but in Custom Night, the paper says Fritz is the third night guard. So Jeremy was the second one, and the phone guy mentions the first one. Also, the papers say Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was open for a few weeks, so no, the messages aren't pre-recorded. Maybe in the world of FNAF the seasons are inverted, but it's probably just a mistake, or a way of saying a job for a few months. So, let me clear something for anyone who isn't familiar with FNAF. This game does not tell the missing kids incident the first one shows, because that is set in June, while this game is set in November, and Phone Guy mentions that the animatronics have terrible smell, like in the newspaper, and that detail is very specific. So what happened? Who is the killer? Why did they close? What is the puppet? If you are a pro gamer like me and play the whole 5 nights without dying, you won't see anything, but when you die, there's a chance that you will get a minigame. Don't worry, they aren't so rare, so if you die enough times you'll probably get them all. I'll show them in chronological order. I mean, technically you have to figure out the order, but for simplicity I'll simply say it. The first one is Take Cake to the Children. Here you play as a bear character. The color of the sprite could belong to Freddy or Golden Freddy. The color seems a bit more like Freddy, but I'm going to say it's golden because the colors in these minigames are incredibly inconsistent. Puppet's tears should be purple, not bluish. Same with Toy Bonnie, and the purple guy literally changes color. Here we give the children cake while one is crying outside.
And we waited. Then, suddenly, it appeared. On its own.
And when this purple guy arrives, the sprite of the child starts getting corrupted until it becomes grey and purple guy leaves. It's very easy to see that purple guy killed the kid. And then there's a puppet jump scare. So, what does this mean? Phone Guy mentions Fredbear's Family Diner has been closed for years, but we never learned why. And we never hear anything about one kid being murdered outside of the pizzeria, and this restaurant doesn't seem very big. So this is probably Fredbear's Family Diner, and this is the reason it closed. A kid being murdered in the doors of the place. And the puppet jump scare can't be there for nothing, and the puppet always seems to be so weird, like if it was possessed. So yeah, this is the kid that possessed the puppet. The next minigame is Foxy Go Go Go. Here we see Foxy interacting with kids and there's a pirate cove. So this isn't FNAF 2's pizzeria and it isn't FNAF 1's either, because Foxy is functioning correctly. However, in the third go, the purple guy appears again and the children are all grey like the puppet. This minigame shows that the culprit is the same man in both locations, like he's stalking the restaurant to commit his malicious acts. And Foxy isn't possessed here because otherwise he would attack him. The third minigame is Give Gives, where we play as the puppet and there are 4 corpses in the room. First we give them gifts, but when that does nothing we give life, and we start putting the heads of the animatronics in them. When we put the last one, Golden Freddy appears. If we pause at the right frame, we can see a 5th body, which is likely from Golden Freddy. So this minigame confirms 100% that the animatronics are haunted by the souls of the missing children, including Golden Freddy. We also learned that the responsible one for this is the puppet. At first the animatronic gives them gifts, but then the soul gives them life. It could also be possible that the animatronic is the one responsible for stuffing the bodies in the animatronics and not the killer. If we look closely, all of his killings never end with stuffing the bodies in the suits, so it could be that the puppet is responsible for this. The last minigame doesn't have a name. Here we play as Withered Freddy, and this is literally the FNAF 2 location. We see multiple pools of blood and 5 bodies as the puppet comes back to his place and Golden Freddy occasionally appears and disappears. The minigame ends when you touch a body. However, there's an extremely low chance of finding Purple Guy, who will attack you and crash the game Golden Freddy or Shadow Bonnie style. Also, I forgot to mention that most of these have messages in them. The first one is save him, the second one is help them, and this one is save them, which the Purple Guy responds with a cruel you can't. So there's a lot to unpack here. First, the Golden Freddy we see in FNAF 2 is real, cause otherwise Freddy wouldn't see him. Second, the man that was arrested previously was not the culprit, otherwise he should be in prison. Third, the Purple Guy works at the pizzeria because he now has a badge. We only know of 4 workers in the pizzeria. The first one is Phone Guy, but he seems scared in the 6th night and he later takes the paper of security guard. Why would he do this and never kill anyone else? Besides, he dies in that game. Why would the animatronics still hunt people? Then there's Jeremy, but in the minigame we see that Purple Guy deactivates Freddy. If Jeremy could do this, why would he, well, die? The same goes for Fritz. Even if he can't tamper with animatronics, he can still be killed. So there's only one guard left, who did not notify of the animatronics acting strange.
Our guard during the day has reported nothing unusual, and he's on watch from opening till close.
He was suspicious and got fired.
No one is allowed in or out, especially concerning any previous employees. When we get it all sorted out, we may move into the day shift. The position just became available.
And the next day they find out someone used a yellow suit. Besides, having the job of night guard means he can watch the entire building and learn its layout. So yeah, the first guard is surely Purple Guy. I have one doubt here though. The rumors start in night 3, the police starts investigating in night 4, and Purple Guy is fired in night 5. So, was Purple Guy killing kids throughout the week and the bodies are just symbolic? Or did he wait until the party in night 6 and kill them all in one go? I'm more inclined to believe the latter, because this is the party where the bite of 87 happens. Phone Guy mentions that the animatronics are allowed to move during the day, and reaffirms it later. The party of night 6 is the only day it could happen because the restaurant will be closed for some time. So the bite happens and Purple Guy takes advantage of this confusion to kidnap 5 kids again. Either of these 2 options is possible though. Another question I have, did Purple Guy actually tamper with the animatronics AI, or were the animatronics becoming more aggressive because of seeing Purple Guy? Anyway, so basically, the story begins with Fredbear's Family Diner where they may or may not have Golden Freddy and the puppet as animatronics. Here Purple Guy kills a kid which causes the restaurant to close. Then Fazbear Entertainment buys it and turns it into Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, where they have success until Purple Guy uses maybe Golden Freddy to kill 5 kids. Then Puppet somehow makes them possess the animatronics to get revenge. The restaurant closes again, and then they open the FNAF 2 one. Here the events of the game happen. After this the restaurant closes and the toys are scrapped due to the bite of 87. Later in FNAF 1 opens with the original animatronics and Purple Guy luckily doesn't appear. Then Mike Smith works there and it finally closes completely. Okay, now you might wonder, Truvix, why did you pretty much made a game theory video for a review? Well guy, in my imagination, it's for things like this. Or this.
A world filled with creepy monsters isn't enough, and you have to tell a good story to surround it, or you can bait the shit out of your consumers to tell the story for you and keep changing the story.
Mauler, I really like you and your videos, but every time you talk about FNAF in that series it's mostly so bullshit. The reason I did this was because many people will tell you stuff like this, that the community is the one that invents the story, or that it's simply trying to be confusing. Now that is true for some of them, but many times they won't make the distinction. So here you have it, I show it the entire story by using what you can see in both games. You have to use common sense to connect some of the dots, but it's very well made and satisfying to solve. In fact, when I came here I was going to criticize the fact that if the toys can't be haunted, why do they act so creepy? But then I remembered what Phone Guy says.
By now I'm sure you've noticed the older models sitting in the back room. Those are from the previous location, and we just use them for parts now.
They use parts of the haunted animatronics for the new ones, that's why they act like that. In fact, one more thing, even though Phone Guy doesn't mention it and the minigames don't show it, we can also intuit who did the bite of 87 and who received it. We know the new ones were responsible because they are scrapped while the old ones are kept. And there's only one animatronic with sharp teeth, and that's not all. It's an animatronic who the kids get pretty close to, and in their jumpscare they bite the part of the head with the frontal lobe. And about the victim, we play as the victim. Phone Guy mentions the animatronics function well with the kids but badly with the staff. In Night 6, Jeremy gets told to stay close to the robots and also to use his uniform. And despite the fact that the bite happened, Jeremy doesn't get fired, because he received it. Do you see how with just loose words we can decipher an entire event? How can you tell me that's bad storytelling? If you don't enjoy it, I think that's perfect for you. We all have different taste. But I, as well as a lot of people, I like this kind of stories that work like a huge puzzle that is extremely satisfying to solve. Just like a normal puzzle. So yeah, sorry and not sorry for explaining you the entire FNAF 2 lore, but I needed to make a point. Also, I like to say that explaining parts of the story that couldn't be explained in phone calls through Atari minigames was such an amazing idea and very well executed. They all explain so much with so little, it's downright impressive.
キーちゃんどう思う？後半の展開。
さっぱりっす。
Yeah, I don't understand this. There are two interpretations, one that this happens before FNAF 2 in the moment where the animatronics get possessed, which would make sense if they didn't use the original designs instead of a fixed version of the Withereds. And the second interpretation is that this happens in FNAF 1, but why is the puppet there? And what is it supposed to mean then? In fact, what happened to the puppet? I guess that will be explained in 3, but honestly this cutscene doesn't add anything except for a little horror, but not much. It's not even worth it for Golden Freddy because we have the minigames for that. Also, another thing that I would have liked is to have more about Jeremy. I mean, he goes through the 6 nights for... why? For the lols? I think that we could remove the midnight cutscenes and replace them with something to give Jeremy his motives. However, I'm not going to start asking too many questions, like why Purple Guy can deactivate the animatronics, or what happened to the animatronics after FNAF 1, or what does Purple Guy have in his sprite, because Scott had FNAF 3 planned, so... But aside from those two, FNAF 2 expands the story of FNAF 1 very well. It's absolutely the best aspect of the game. I leave the mechanics for later because I have the feeling this will be a 2-part video. Let's start with The Office. The Office is a disimprovement. Now don't get me wrong, it's not bad, but it is the follow-up to this Office. In the last video I couldn't describe the feeling, I called it interesting for lack of better words. I think the difference between these two is the lighting. In FNAF 1 there was one small light that illuminated your desk and left huge spaces of darkness in the sides. Meanwhile in FNAF 2 your light illuminates almost everything. This comes with another criticism. Your room is so big that it doesn't feel claustrophobic at all. Well, claustrophobia isn't the main focus of the first game, but it adds to the experience. You do have darkness in the vents and the hallway. It's especially effective in the hallway because there are no cameras there and you never know when something is going to appear. But personally I would have kept the design of the place but make it smaller so the darkness is more prominent, and so an animatronic entering feels more dangerous. But I still like this office, I just think it could be better. With the graphics I have something good and something bad to say. For the bad, Remember the cylinder effect I commented last time? Well, it looks worse now. Come on, was there no way to make this a bit more subtle? For the good, the graphics suffered an upgrade. In the first game, there was this weird thing when you move. I didn't mention it because I didn't know what it was and I thought it had something to do with the cylinder, but I was wrong because that's completely gone in too. Not only that, but the renders with the animatronics in the hallway looks so good, and the vents look a bit better. And there's no comparison with this. Golden Freddy always seemed a bit wrong in FNAF 1. I don't know why, but in FNAF 2 everyone seems very good when they're in the office. So the cylinder is worse, but the graphics are better. I guess it's a good trade. The building this time is a lot cleaner since it's brand new. However, I don't like how there are 4 rooms which follow the same patterns in design. They could be more distinct from each other. But I think the poster with the toy Freddy winking is hilariously spooky. More than once I have stopped to see if I didn't see something wrong. However, there's something that pisses me off. Why does this puddle stay for the entire week? Did nobody see this? The rest is pretty good. The game mostly uses the same things from the first game like the static, but now you also have a flashlight in the cameras. This means they are much darker, but you can like them. I like this, but I don't like how this means you can always watch everything. No animatronic makes effort to hide, which is something I liked in the first game. My favorite room is parts and service. At first it looks like it's pure dark, but then you flash it and you see them, the originals but completely broken. I also love how the animatronics are placed, and when Foxy is here he also seems eager to come back, and there's also the Shadow Freddy Easter egg. It's much better than the show stage where literally nothing happens. So my perspective on the pizzeria is similar to the one of the office. It's good, but it's simply not as good as the first one, but it is closer in quality than the office. Finally, there's the animatronic designs. There are 2 sets this time, the toys and the withered. The toys are much more kid-friendly, but they're so friendly they kinda lose the uncanny feel the other ones had. Luckily all of them have some gimmick to make them spookier. Bonnie's eyes get less and less dilated as he approaches. Chica loses her beak and eyes, and Freddy loses his eyes when he's next to you. Honestly, Bonnie doesn't work or fail for me. Freddy works well, and Chica... I think Chica would have been scarier if instead of losing her beak and eyes immediately, she instead waited to be closer to do it. I think that would have been better. But these are much more distinct from the gang in FNAF 1, although they lack the horror vibe. Then we have Balloon Boy and Mangle. Balloon Boy looks like Pinocchio. His design seems to try to be more annoying than scary, but I like it. The Mangle... Honestly, Scott was getting carried away with this one. It is literally a mangle of parts that can be modified like a toy with a radio. Since this is a series of possessed animatronics that can walk and are stronger than an average human, I think I can take this. Besides, it looks cool and much more dangerous than any of the others. However, something I really don't like is how she is handled most of the time. He is the animatronic that goes through the most cameras, so Scott took a shortcut and made PNGs. Look at this trash. She isn't even affected by the flashlight. It's a shame because when he doesn't do this, it looks pretty good. At least she looks good in the office. So, aside of Mangle, the toys aren't very scary, but it is fine because of the other group, the Withereds. The Withered animatronics are complete redesigns of the originals. If you fix them, they will not be the same. First we have Bonnie. His arm and face are missing. This gives him a much more robotic appearance, the kid-friendly character in its true appearance. Despite the fact this wouldn't be shown to kids, it still has the uncanny feeling. Imagine seeing one of the animatronics in Chuck E. Cheese like this. Chica follows the same concept. Her arms are completely ripped, her face is broken, her body seems in a bad state since she only has one pose, and her eyes seem about to pop out of her face. She is, in my personal opinion, the creepiest character in the game. Freddy and Foxy aren't as exaggerated. I think this is good. This way we have more subtle characters and more in-your-face characters. Foxy is just slightly more broken than the original, but his skin seems unfinished, which gives him something like a haggard appearance, and his teeth stands out more. Finally, Freddy seems to be the least damaged one. He is the main attraction, so he was probably more finished than the others. Aside from the obvious cables and holes, he just looks so much better than the original. He is chubbier, he has more detail like 2 buttons, his head is bigger, it just looks like a total improvement. I will say, however, there's one thing the original does much better. When in the cameras, the original Freddy would hide in the dark. This gave him a lot of personality and made the moment where he is aggressively looking at you much better. But in FNAF 2, because of the flashlight, this is mostly gone. And he barely has cameras to appear in. The aggressive look looks great, but... What is this? He looks lost. It's so hilarious. At least he compensates with the hallway, and I really like how he seems to be trying to grab you in the office, like he freezes when you look at him. Finally, there's Withered Golden Freddy, who is not an Easter egg in this game. Once again, he looks like a corpse, though this time he isn't just a recolored Freddy. His model in the office is a huge improvement of the last time. This time he will also appear in the hallway, and he looks very creepy because he blends well and he's literally a giant head floating and looking at you. Yeah, I prefer Golden Freddy in this one. Finally, the one animatronic who is not withered and is not between the new ones. The puppet. The puppet is one of those characters that you look at and think, what were they even thinking? So, since this kind of stuff happens in real life, it gets a pass. The design just works very well. It's cute enough so it is allowed in the pizzeria to give gifts, but creepy enough so you don't want to encounter it. It also helps that you can only see him when he attacks you, so if you keep the music box going, you won't know how he looks until you screw up. So here I can say the character design is completely superior to the first one. It's a lot more polished and it is even more creative. Although the same cannot be said about the hallucinations. First we have JJ. She appears below your desk. She's a cool Easter egg, but not really scary in any way, unless you imagine she will attack you. Then we have the paper plate. That disappears and appears in your room. Again, cool Easter egg, but not really scary. Then we have the puppet appearing in this camera if you flash. This could be creepy if it wasn't so situational. You have to specifically flash in this room when he breaks out. I think this should have been like the random hallucinations in FNAF 1, where they appear at any moment to spook you momentarily. Then there's the endoskeleton 2. His design, like always, leaves the previous one in the dust. He appears when Puppet is free or randomly in the left vent. This one is a lot scarier since he can surprise you and make you nervous. The only thing I will change will be to make him appear at any moment in the prize corner, not only when Puppet is free, you know, because it's the camera you check the most, and he could actually scare you if this was the case. Finally, there's the Shadow animatronics, Shadow Bonnie or RWQ, I'm not pronouncing that. It's like the Golden Freddy in this game. He has 1 in a million chance of appearing, and he is the opposite of Golden Freddy. You have to flash him to make him disappear. Take 2 seconds to do this and he crashes the game without even jump scaring you. He can be very scary. Then there's Shadow Freddy, who will appear sometimes when there are no animatronics in the backstage. He could scare if he wasn't in a camera that you will never check. As an extra, rarely when you open the game, enter a night or die, you can get one of these screens. These ones are most of the time completely unexpected. Because of that, alongside the audio and the image itself, these are genuinely scary. So, as cool as many of these are, they are not as scary as the ones in FNAF 1. Because of how the game works, you may not even be capable of finding some of these, and some are way too difficult to notice. I don't think I need to say why a bunch of papers aren't as scary as images of children crying or Freddy tearing his head. Shadow Bonnie, the Endo 2 and the eyeless screens are the only ones at the same level. Just to be clear, I'm not saying I want these gone, I'm saying they should be accompanied by some more scary ones. Last thing I want to talk about is the jump scares. In this game all the jump scares are like gifts, while in the first game they were connected to the room. That means that if you move the camera, the animatronics stay in place. Meanwhile, in FNAF 2, their location depends on where you're looking. This works well with most, but there are a few problems. First, we have Puppet and Foxy. Their animation is alright, but because they work like a GIF, they will sometimes come out of nowhere, like the wall, other animatronics, or literally nothing. It looks very janky and I would have preferred something else. And then there's the Freddys. First look at normal Freddy. Pfft, what is this? Compare it to the original. Then there's Golden Freddy, which is even worse. It's a head floating towards you. This one looks straight up goofy. I can't take it seriously. I like Golden Freddy acting like a floating head, but this is very badly animated. Okay, where do I even start? I guess I could start with these cutscenes. They aren't very scary by themselves, but the sound that seems to come from nowhere and the build-up that doesn't go anywhere adds a lot. I still stand with what I said earlier, but it makes it better. The sounds of the menu screen are pretty much the same as the last time, but the music invokes a sense of mystery rather than of fear, which I like because of the whole puzzle story. Then we have the minigames ambience that gives the impression of being broken, and the voice spelling letters was a nice addition. Lastly, for sounds outside of gameplay, the music box of the endings is really nice. I wish it had appeared in the gameplay somehow like Toreador. Okay, on to gameplay now. Your room this time is not as loud as before, the fan especially. However, don't think the game is going to be more calm, because all the time you're not in the office, you are in the prize corner with the music box. This is pretty good, but prepare to listen to this thing all night, all nights. This thing becomes annoyingly repetitive. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad if we could rewind it at any room but only see it progress in the prize corner. Another example of a good sound that's used way too much is the alarm for an animatronic in the hallway or in the vents. At first this can create tension, but later in the nights, because animatronics are constantly appearing, it becomes very repetitive to listen to. In FNAF 1 this would also happen, but the sound was a lot more subtle, so it wasn't annoying. Now, not everything is bad. In particular, I like Mangle's noises. It makes her more intimidating, as if he wasn't over the top enough already. But it also reveals her location, which means you don't need to check for her. However, if she enters the room, his sounds become a danger rather than a help, because it makes the other animatronics more aggressive. It's like a cruel joke. Instead of killing you instantly, she instead lengthens your suffering before killing you himself anyway. Another pretty iconic one is Balloon Boy, who, like Freddy in the first game, will have a lag or a voice line every time he moves. It's the only way to know he's coming because he doesn't appear in the cameras until the event. Although there was this moment where he said hi when I was looking at his camera, I found that adorable.
Hello?
What it's not adorable is when he gets to your room. Deactivates your flashlight, locks in your face to make the others more aggressive like Mangle, and the block sound from FNAF 1 comes back. Overall, nothing about Balloon Boy is scary, but he is very charming. Aside from this, the only one I find memorable is Puppet Coming From You. It plays Jack in a Box. It's pretty much perfect for this since it has the same feeling as the actual box. Well, I have a little complaint. All of the sounds in this game help you or simply mock you. In comparison, in FNAF 1 there were many sounds like the circus, Foxy singing, or the sound of hallucinations. These sounds weren't so obvious as Mangle's radio or Puppet Song's warning. They were meant to be surprising. FNAF 2 doesn't have these sort of sounds. There also aren't any sounds like the animatronics breathing from Bonnie and Chica in your office, or Freddy laughing when he moves, which is disappointing. Still, the sound design is good and pulls you into the experience, but I think it just could have gone a bit further like its predecessor. The decision to remove the doors was a really clever one. In the first game, they were the most important defense you had, so when you go in without knowing anything, you might feel dangerously exposed at first. Nowadays, we always know FNAF games all have completely different gameplay from one another, but back then it was easy to assume FNAF 2 would have doors with some new mechanic, so this was really surprising. Now instead you have a Freddy mask. This does beg the question of why they didn't give you one in FNAF 1, but I guess at first the building electricity wasn't so bad and they could actually stay with the doors closed for 6 hours straight, but that's just a theory. There are 11 animatronics in this game. In the first night you face the Toy Trio. In night 2, Foxy, Balloon Boy and Mangle are added. In night 3, Toy Freddy and Mangle get deactivated with Toy Bonnie and Chica becoming less active. Most importantly, the withered animatronics become active here. In night 4, Chica is deactivated but Mangle becomes very active. In night 5, all of the animatronics you faced are active, and in night 6, everyone is very aggressive and Golden Freddy appears regularly. Take into account that each night the music box depletes faster. This all means that this game is much more dynamic than the first game, that only made Freddy appear in night 3, because Foxy is actually active in night 1. However, I have a tiny, small, inconsequential little problem. I really hate how the mechanic is handled. The idea isn't bad, an implacable animatronic that you need to keep in his place. Besides, the concept is creepy. It's like the music keeps him calm. But the implementation is the real problem. To wind the music box, you have to be in the prize corner and maintain the click there. Do you realize the problem? This makes checking any camera much more difficult. In the first 2 nights, you can watch the animatronics around and keep the music box with no problem. But by night 3, the music starts depleting fast, so you can only check very quickly and come back to prize corner. And by night 5 onward, forget about looking at any other camera. With how aggressive the Withered and Toy Freddy are, you can't lose a second of the music box and Foxy. Although, to be honest, this only damages the experience, not the gameplay, because there isn't a single reason to survey the building in the first place. The only use the other cameras have is flash the light to slow them down, but why would you waste the battery you need for Foxy and the time you need for Puppet? In FNAF 1, even if you needed the cameras to stop Foxy, the game gave you the freedom to check any camera you wanted since it will have the same effect. At least until night 5 you could watch Bonnie, Chica and Freddy. Here, there are so many animatronics that surveilling it's unnecessary at best. The cameras are a defining trait in this series and seeing them wasted is disappointing. The other animatronic that doesn't care about the mask is Foxy. He appears in the hallway and you have to flash him to contain him and make him go away. He along with Puppet and the rest have a good balance between using the cameras, using the flashlight and using the mask. Without Foxy you will wind as much as you can, flip and put the mask, check and go back to wind, and without Puppet you wouldn't use the cameras and only flash. They balance each other well. The rest are all avoided with the mask. When they reach, they have different patterns. Toy Bonnie will appear in the right vent and come and watch you before going away. Mangle does the same, but she doesn't appear in your room and you can know he's gone when the radio stops. Balloon Boy and Toy Chica come from the left and work like Mangle. However, the sound cue for them being gone is extremely poor. They have the same sound of going into the vents, which means you're never really sure if they're gone quickly or take a lot of time. Mangle, for example, does this. but her sound is so distinct isn't a problem. Balloon Boy and Chica are very frustrating. This isn't like FNAF 1 where you can see the animatronic being gone. Personally, I would have made Toy Chica function like Bonnie, and that seemed to be the intention because of this animation. And Balloon Boy say bye when he's gone. Then we have Bonnie and Chica. They skip the last vent and go straight into your office. Here you have to put the mask in less than a second. It depends on the night, but take more than half a second and you are dead. What's worse is that sometimes they will flip down the monitor by themselves. I like this, but the game makes no attempt in explaining it to you. Phone Guy says that the mask will work on them, but he never specifies that they will do this. This makes Night 3 one of the worst nights in all of FNAF.
Oh, put your mask on! Fuck! I didn't know what to do! God, am I dead? I'm dead! I'm dead! I'm dead! That is not okay! So I just gotta hold still? Is that what I gotta do? Fuck me! I thought I made it! Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Why? Am I dead? Oh God, don't kill me! Just everybody calm down. We're still okay. I'm not gonna pull up my radar. Because doing that would be a terrible error. I think. Just gonna hope I don't die. Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna okay, I'm okay. I know, maybe as well. Fuck yeah! Okay, alright. So no matter what, if he's in front of me, I'm dead. That's it. That's all there is. I'm dead. Unless I need to put on the mask after he goes away. I don't know. I don't know. That's the big problem here. I need to know how to be Bonnie. Oh my goodness. Who's there? Who's moving? Ah! Hi, Chica! What the hell? Okay, it's fine. Keep on, baby, Bobby, Bobby. Ah! Ah! Balloon Boy's out. Oh God! Okay, you stay down, stay down, stay down. And you're done. You're done. You're done. Put on the mask. That doesn't matter! Hey! Why did he not kill me before? I'm gonna stay still, stay still, stay still. You can't do anything to me. You have no power here. Okay. I know. Music. They were both in there! Oh God, okay! It didn't even show that he was there! It was the goddamn Balloon Boy! Is he gone? Okay, okay, I did it. I did it. But God damn it, someone's down that hallway. Foxy is. Who else would it be? Oh, okay. 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 Okay, that is the trick. You just gotta be really quick.
A problem these games can have is that if you die too many times, you will start learning patterns, how the game and the monsters work, and the more you know, the least scary it will be. This is fine for challenges when you already finish it, but it is really bad if it happens during the first playthrough. FNAF 1 suffered from this a bit, but no way even near as much as FNAF 2. Toy Freddy will do the same thing as Bonnie and Chica but from the front, and Freddy does the same thing as Toy Freddy. They even have the same number of movements. Hey, remember when Freddy was the most dangerous and scary threat? Now he is indifferentiable from any other enemy. At least Golden Freddy got a better treatment. He will appear randomly at your room. If you do anything, he'll kill you unless you put on the mask. Then he'll vanish. However, he can also appear in the hallway. If you see him here, ignore him. If you flash him too much, he'll kill you. I really like this. It means that you have to pay attention to what you flash instead of flashing mindlessly like you could do until now. I also like how this makes Night 6 unique instead of just being another night. What I don't like is how, again, he isn't even explained. You have to have luck or die to him to understand how he works. So, out of 11 animatronics, 3 of them have unique mechanics, 4 of them act the same with small differences, and 4 act pretty much the same. The cameras are useless and the gameplay is repetitive by the last nights. Is that all? No, it also has luck-based moments. In the last nights, the animatronics are so aggressive and the music box so fast that if many animatronics come at the same time, it will be impossible to survive. FNAF 1 also had that when you run out of power, but this only happened if you run out of power, which is all your fault unless Bonnie went crazy. But that was a glitch, not something that can happen if the game goes correctly. So, as you have seen, despite how original it is, FNAF 2's gameplay is extremely flawed and unpolished. FNAF 1 may have been simple, but it was a lot more solid. However, despite all of this, FNAF 2 is weirdly fun. There's something satisfying about playing FNAF 2. I guess it is because there's so much stuff happening. Playing FNAF 2 is really intense and there is no time to breathe. However, if Scott wanted to make a fun game, then he should have made a spin-off or a completely different game with the same gameplay concept as FNAF. FNAF is really unique and it's honestly very disappointing that instead of making it more terrifying and polishing it to reach its full potential, they gave up on trying to make it scary and instead made it stressful and intense, which is much easier to accomplish. So, the changes I will make to the gameplay. First, I think Freddy being fooled by the Freddy mask is pretty dumb. Shouldn't the animatronic realize that there can't be 2 endoskeletons as Freddy at once? Using the flashlight at Foxy at the hallway is pretty good. So Freddy would hide and make his way to you, and you would have to find him in the cameras and flash him to push him back. This will make you use all of the cameras, see the other animatronics occasionally, and make Freddy a real threat. I mean, his name is in the title, come on. About the music box, instead of winding it by maintaining click, I will change it so you wind it with a button close to control. However, you can only see its progress in the price corner. Of course, you will have to balance it around this new rule, because if you let it as it is now, it will be too easy. The toys can work like they work currently, just with the suggestions I made earlier. And Toy Freddy won't come into your office. You put the mask when he is close on the hallway. Then Bonnie and Chica work the same way they work now, but with one difference. They will make a sound similar to the one they make in the first game, so you know you have to put the mask on. I know what you're thinking, wouldn't that make no difference? Well, that's because there's another modification I will make. The mask should have a cooldown. Basically, if you put it and there was nothing there, you get punished. This will make the player more nervous about using the mask and not just put it every 2 seconds. This will also mean you will have to be more careful with Golden Freddy, who appears out of nowhere because if you flash, he kills you. With all of these suggestions, plus the ones I made throughout the video, I think FNAF 2 will be a much scarier, more tense, and overall a much better video game in general. Once you finish the 6th night, you get the custom night again. Something curious is that, because Jeremy moved on from here, in this night you play as another guy with a similar last name to the protagonist of the first game that gets fired for the same reasons. Could it be the same guy? Does he have motivations we don't know about? Whatever. This time if you deactivate an animatronic they will stay deactivated, unlike the first game where the only one who could be truly deactivated was Freddy. With the exception of Foxy, because the game is too easy without him, so he appeared from time to time even at 0. Another weird thing is that you can't see the main stage or the back room. My only guess is that Scott did this so he wouldn't have to model Freddy leaving first, for example, because in the first game Freddy had to wait for the others to get out. Kind of lazy, but whatever. One thing I really like this time is the challenges. Basically, things like certain combinations of animatronics, and if you beat them you get cute plushies. Look at these fellas. They do look like PNGs overlapped, but I don't care. However, there's one thing I really don't like about this. Yeah, you can't modify Puppet. Seriously? Puppet will always be at the hardest difficulty no matter what you do. I understand the game will be too easy without Puppet, but the point of the custom night is to mess around as well. At least put it always as the maximum for the challenges, but let us deactivate it for other things. So it isn't a lot, but this game has more to do after you finish. There are lots of different combinations you can try, and the challenges give you cute awards. Nothing crazy, but considerably better than the first game. Which of these is better will depend on your taste. If you prefer a richer story and more fun gameplay loop, then you'll prefer 2. If instead you prefer an atmospheric and scarier game, then you'll prefer FNAF 1. What do I think? Well, I don't see why these two can't be in the same game. So it's FNAF 1. FNAF 1 was an extremely original game that was also really tense and scary. FNAF 2 is also very original, but the horror part is severely lacking. Besides, the game doesn't improve FNAF 1 all that much. The graphics improve, the character designs improves, but things like the sound are not as good as in the first game, and the gameplay is straight up a downgrade. It makes me sad, because if you talk to me about the premise of this game, I will say, whoa, it must be so much better than the original. It honestly isn't surprising. Supposedly FNAF 1 was going to be Scott's last game, so there weren't plans for a second game. This means this game was in the oven for 3 months. Let me repeat, 3 months. This was a terrible decision. So he finished the game a lot quicker than he expected, and instead of taking advantage of this and making a lot more ambitious and polished game, instead he released what he had. The key to this disappointment is lack of ambition. I don't know why. Was it to take advantage of how popular the game was, or because he couldn't wait to show the story he had? Either way, it wasn't the right move. In the other hand, the story in this game is a complete success. I already explained why. The way everything connects, how well presented the information is despite being cryptic, and how interesting the story is by itself, is not something easy to find. But well, because of the story, art, and somewhat fun gameplay, I can say that FNAF 2 is either a mediocre or a decent game, but it leaves a lot to be decided as a horror game.